who came together to extend this invitation for myself and the chair of the DeKalb School District, Dr. Melvin Johnson, is here, and delighted that he was able to come. And as you know, he now chairs a 9-member board. Give him a hand. Yes. As opposed to a 3-member board. But thank y'all so much for your support and your interest during the time that I've served as the interim superintendent here. I want to talk to you today really not about board politics so much, but talk to you about the things that are going on internally in the DeKalb School District. We will be completing a series of town hall meetings that's been held around the district. We have one this afternoon at, I can't remember. There's so many. It's in DeKalb County. We've been to McNair High School, Arabia Mountain, Thurmond Middle School, on most recently, and we have 2 more scheduled. We also, during the first part of my tenure, I like to refer to it as the listening phase of the tenure. I've had the opportunity to obviously speak with you all, but last week we went down to the DeKalb Board of Commissioners meeting, had a great meeting with the DeKalb Board of Commissioners in that work session and in public, and in a public meeting that preceded that. We've had a chance to speak with the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce. I'll be going back in a week or so to address, I guess, the eggs and issue breakfast. Later this week, we're meeting with leadership DeKalb. This past Sunday, Senator Millar was kind enough to invite us up to North DeKalb. We met with the Dunwoody Homeowners Association, had a great meeting there, and just we're continuing to listen and to learn from various stakeholders around the district. But the big issue we're working on today that I worked on this morning before I came, and I'll be circling back to, is we're focused on increasing academic achievement in our district. And that is item number 1. And what we're working towards is aligning all of our resources as well as our focus, our mission on that one particular issue. Because at the end of the day, that's what really matters. I mean, we can get into the politics and the external issues and the media focus, but at the end of the day, our business is about helping our young people be successful academically, preparing them for worlds of to continue their education or go into the world of work. What I'm working on, and it's quite surprising, we're looking now at really who really comprises the DeKalb County School District, who are the students. We talk about our 9,000 students, but what's becoming more interesting, the more we delve into it, the more we gather the data and the statistics, is that socioeconomically, not just racially, we have a very different and a very diverse school district, one of the most diverse in America, and definitely in the state of Georgia. And one of the things that, one of the important realities that I've come to understand is that, unfortunately, we tend to look at DeKalb and the DeKalb School District, particularly in the black-white lens of things that we historically looked at it, but that's really obsolete and not very informative anymore. And those of us who continue to look at it that way are not looking at it in a reality-based position. Commissioner, how you doing? I didn't see the commissioner over there. Commissioner was there. We spoke. She was kind enough. I mentioned the meeting, and she had some insight as well. So what we are beginning to do is look very closely at who really comprises the DeKalb School District. And so one of the things that's most enlightening, if you look at our English EL students, those who are learning English, learning to speak English, may not be as proficient in it as should be, continue to make up a larger and larger percentage of our population, roughly 12%. And I often hear people state that, well, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, DeKalb was an elite school system. But it's a very different school system. I'm not talking about racial either. It's a very different school system socioeconomically. And we all know that one's socioeconomic status does not prohibit a person from achieving and doing well, but it does present a unique set of challenges that must be overcome or at least addressed. And so that's one of the things that you're going to see over the next 30 days as we roll this out. I believe that most citizens of DeKalb are going to be really surprised at what has transpired inside the school district. And for legislators and other stakeholders, you know, what's going on in our elementary school from 10, what's going to happen in what DeKalb County is becoming. And our elementary schools look a lot different from the DeKalb that you and I work in, live in, and participate in on a daily basis. And the question is, how can we as a district or a county begin to better prepare, react to the issues, and prepare this district for this population that's going to define who we become in the near future. I see it not as an obstacle, but an opportunity. You know, there's always this tale about a person walking down a path and came upon a big rock or boulder in the path, and he immediately defined it as a stumbling block and really stopped and turned and went the other direction. Next person walking down the same path saw that boulder, saw that rock, and then defined it as a stepping stone and proceeded on in the direction which he's going. What we have to do is redefine how the stumbling blocks that we think are in our path, and understand that they are not stumbling blocks, but they are stepping stones. And so you're going to be somewhat, I think, surprised about where we stand as a district, particularly the high school, middle school, and elementary school, those that are, in terms of academic performance, at the district average, at the state average, and even at the national average. It's quite profound when you really begin to look at it. And so I'm excited. I'll answer any question you all might have. I'm excited about the direction. We out in the district, out talking to parents, out talking to stakeholders. The great majority are very excited about where we are, more excited about the direction we're going in. And one final thing, when you talk about academic performance, and one of the things that we're going to do in the district is re-emphasize and reinvigorate our effort to build the relationship between the school, the teacher, and the parents. Every study, and the internet is full of it, I was looking at it over the weekend, and we need great superintendents, and you need involved and cohesive school boards. You need great principals. Teachers in the classroom have to be inspiring and prepared. But the individual that has the greatest influence over child education is not a school board member, is not a superintendent, it's a parent. Parents have much more influence over academic success of a child than any of the other people that we focus all the attention on. Now we have, especially in our Title I schools, which represents the great majority of the schools in the district, money set aside through Title I to promote parental involvement. We're going to back the basics, and we recognize that unless you have a good partnership, relationship, great principals, inspired, qualified teachers, but you also have to have an involved parent or adult guardian. Without that, it makes it very, very difficult for children to succeed in classrooms. And to be honest with you, just to shoulder or push all of that blame on the teachers and the principals and ignore the fact that the greatest influence is the parent is not realistic, to be quite honest with you, and it's really unfair at any level. So you will see a renewed effort to build on that relationship. I met with Ms. Coward, who's over the DeKalb PTA, which has one of the largest, most successful PTAs in the state of Georgia, by the way. But we do have schools where our PTAs are almost non-existent and not what they should be. And we are going to invest resources. Right now, we invest very little in our PTAs and our parent councils to help them and assist them in their effort. But with the support of the board, I believe that's going to change in the near future. So I'll stop there, Mr. Chairman, and try to answer any questions.
Fran. Thank you, Mike. I think one of the things you've talked about is the fact we all know DeKalb schools are probably too big, and the need to decentralize. You've talked about giving more authority out to, I'll call them the regional superintendents, for lack of a better word. Also, I think there's quite a bit of movements afoot, whether it's in Chamblee, whether it's in Dunwoody, whether it's at Lakeside or Fernbank, and a lot of the parents that you're talking about are interested more and more so in this charter cluster, where you have the feeder schools from middle school to the high school, where they get to be involved much more in control of that particular little world that they live in. And I think you've talked about that some, and I think throughout the entire county, really, if we've got these, when we have these people that are involved, and the parents, I think that we're going to make this thing work. we've got to decentralize this stuff and get the stuff down to the school level. And if you've got involved parents, you can do that. It's pretty hard to do it without the involved parents. So I guess, you know, you've talked about it, and I guess I just would ask that you're going to hear from a lot of parents. I mean, I know there's actually a meeting this week about a whole bunch of these areas, like I'm talking about, are interested in this cluster concept for their feeder schools, because they want to be able to be more involved in their kids' education and what happens in all those particular schools that form that group. And I hope you guys are going to continue, you and Dr. Johnson and the rest of the board are going to be supportive of that, because we're too big to try to do everything one way, as you put it. You know, one size doesn't fit all. And when we've got pockets, if we think things are going well, and we've got to take the reins off, I guess, for lack of a better term. So that's the only comment I would make to you.
No, thank you, Senator, for mentioning that. I didn't. You know, we have, 140 schools.
Right.
We really do. And there are distinct differences in the regions. Well, we have 5 regions currently in the school district. It's hard. And one of the things about public bureaucracies, or bureaucracies, even private ones, is that we tend to see or try to concentrate power in the hands of a very few people. That's just a natural cycle of all the bureaucracy are worked in. And so I always look first when I go inside a situation, especially one in crisis. You look at the management, command control, accountability factors inside of bureaucracy. And one of the things that's impacted, I think, academic achievement is that currently, basically, we have one person running 140 schools. The way it's set up. And what I would like to do, we have good regional superintendents. We have to, with the right format and the right system, allow more regional ability to make decisions in the district. And we worked on that this morning too. And this will be something that I think will, at the end of the day, give principals and teachers more flexibility, but also it's going to give the superintendent and the board better eyes and ears, more focused eyes to understand what the needs are, what the challenges are, and how to respond to them. When you have people closely connected, one of the things you always want whether it's a private corporation or a public entity, you want as much authority as reasonably possible at the closest point of delivery of the service. It's true whether it's Kentucky Fried Chicken or whether it's any public corporation. When you have issues, you need to, that's why you have state representatives and state senators. Your primary job is not to, and you are a state representative, that means you represent the entire state of Georgia. However, you have a primary responsibility to respond to issues within a geographic area that elects you, although you are a state senator and you are a state representative. And that's how you get information back to the centers where decisions can be made.
A few things. You talked, and I am glad to see that you're addressing the issue of our schools as socioeconomic point of view as opposed to just a racial point of view. I think that's very important. And the parental involvement is a very, very important component. But when you get into socioeconomics, you get into folks that can take time off from work, where one parent can afford to work and the other doesn't have to work, as opposed to the parent or the guardian that is an hourly employee and cannot take the time off. I mean, there's a lot, and that needs to be addressed differently, and we need to be putting extra assistance into those schools where you have that. I mean, my district, I have Lakeside, which everyone wants to go to, and I have Taos High School, which folks don't want to go to. I have that diversity in my district. One last thing on the PTA. At one time, there was a lady, Nancy Van Wyck, who coordinated the PTAs, who did all of that. She was in the administration when they began doing some cutbacks because of economics. They eliminated that position, and I don't think anyone has picked it up. So you don't have coordination, you don't have any of that. And you know, it might be worth going back and talking to her about what her position did entail, so you know what you need to be bringing in.
Yeah, I'd like to get her contact.